everyone, welcome to the Free Soul Arts Collective's Vital Voices series. My name is Christa Brown. I'm the founder and executive director. Thank you for coming. A little bit about the Free Soul Arts Collective. We are a nonprofit arts organization based in Lowell, Massachusetts. Our mission is to amplify voices of color through the arts. So we create paid opportunities for artists like Kid Renaissance to perform, to speak about their work, and all of the opportunities that we present to artists of color are paid. We also do youth programming, events, and enrichment programs. The Vital Voices series, this is our second year doing it. It's a monthly series where every month for 6 months, we highlight 6 BIPOC artists in the community. It's an opportunity for us to amplify their platform, tell folks about all these magical local artists that people may not know about, and again, emphasizing a paid opportunity for all of the artists that we work with. You can also check out our last month's episode with Queen Adeline on our YouTube channel. To make this series possible, we have to thank Enterprise Bank, our presenting sponsor. This is their second time sponsoring the series, so thank you so much. We're also going to be shouting out our fiscal sponsor, the Greater Lowell Community Foundation. Before we get started, everyone out there watching this video, feel free to follow us on social media. We are on IG, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, not TikTok yet, that'll be sojourned, but that is where we're at. And also, please follow our featured artist, Kid Renaissance, online. Download the music, pay for merch, check them out, amplify this magical local artist in our own community. So before we get started, hi Ian.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Do you like to be referred as Kid Renaissance for the interview or Ian?
Kid Renaissance works, kid.
Okay, Kid, I'm gonna do it, okay. So before we get started, I'm just gonna tell some people a little bit about you.
Sure.
So Kid Renaissance, or Kid as he's commonly referred to, was born Ian Dyer in Worcester, Massachusetts in May 2001. He jumped straight into a happy and supportive childhood with no shortage of friends. His parents would have done anything to nurture him. He was raised to appreciate the life he had been given, and still to this day, making it a priority to appreciate all the opportunities that he's been blessed with. Ian was hard to pin down. He had boundless energy and passion for just about anything, and dove into whatever, from science to animation and everything in between. This left his mother clueless, never certain of what he would be doing during his adult life. One thing was for sure, however, she knew that he would be doing something creative. During his later years in high school, Ian was the president of the school's art club, diving into any medium he was attracted to. He did his best to inspire others to create, and during his senior year, was asked to sing and play guitar during a small theater show. He fell in love with performing and the creative process behind music, and he knew he had to be a part of the music industry somehow. Shortly after that performance, he started his search for a college that had a music business program, and that search landed him at UMass Lowell studying music business. Kid expected to meet a lot of talented people and professors that could help him grow professionally. His expectations were quickly exceeded, meeting mentors, creative accomplices, and his current manager, who all pushed him to become the career artist he is today. Kid is now working harder each day to convey gratitude through music, with dreams of bringing people together through the positive emotions his art creates. Just like his childhood self, it is hard for Ian to work in just one creative space. He's expanded his portfolio from music to modeling, graphic design, and fashion design, and is on track to reach his goal of invoking connectivity and gratefulness in everyone that he has the opportunity to experience his art. Thank you so much for being here, Kid.
Thank you for having me.
Goodness gracious, we're so excited to have you.
Excited to be here.
So a lot of people out there don't know, I didn't know this, but you kind of broke into your passion of music by accident / maybe a lie.
Yeah, it started in high school when I was trying to test the waters with what I wanted to do artistically, and there was some day that they announced that they needed a songwriter or a singer to do some work with the theater department. So I elected myself in volunteering, and I worked with the theater director, and he wanted to know what experience I had in songwriting and how we navigate things, and one of the first things he asked me was if I could play guitar and sing at the same time. I said, yeah, of course. I could not. Not at all. I was very bad at it. I had been working at it for a while, but it never clicked. It was very difficult for me. But I knew there was something deep down telling me that this was important for me, and it's something that could open a lot of doors, and I should pursue it and really try my best to get to the point of really executing this to my full potential. And every day, I practiced and practiced. The song was Best Part by Daniel Caesar, one of my favorite songs. And the rehearsals kept going better and better. It started to become second nature to play the song on guitar. It's something I could play in my sleep at this point. And at that point, I was really embracing the whole idea of having music be a bigger part of my life, because I loved it. I loved practicing. I loved messing up and then trying again the next day and getting it perfect. And I loved finally walking through, seeing my parents and friends watch me perform for the first time during this theater production, and it was just a beautiful thing, and I fell in love with it, and I'm still in love with it, and it's all really thanks to that experience, that eye-opening experience that kind of led me to where I am today. So
that's great. I love how accidents can kind of open you up to passion like that. So you describe your sound as pop and R&B, but also kind of genre bending.
Yeah.
How did you come to find that?
So growing up, I had liked a lot of different music that was introduced to me from my parents and my siblings, and I never really landed on anything solid, like a favorite genre or anything. When I was a kid, I loved like rock music, AC/DC, the Stones, the Doors, and I like hated rap music. I never knew what R&B was, and then slowly I kind of looked at different genres, and I started falling in love with little niches in all of these different genres: R&B pop, soul, like gangster rap, all of this stuff that kind of has this like intertwined sound and feel of community, and it was just a beautiful thing. It's like artists coming together, making what sound they're passionate about and what sound they can tell their story with. And when I started doing it myself, I found that I didn't really want to be put in a box, and I was very comfortable, and I'm still comfortable with R&B and R&B pop, but I love to write rap. I love punk music, indie music, like soul stuff. I love writing for different artists and everything, just all this alternative stuff, and it's like an ever-evolving like space when it comes to genre, because you look at the genre of what people would consider R&B now, it's a lot different than R&B like 10 years ago. You know, there's all these different subgenres and everything, and it's hard to put people in a box anymore, and it's kind of rare to find an artist that's emerging nowadays that doesn't genre bend. And I take a lot of inspiration from my frequent collaborator Carson. He is a genius at genre bending. He does it so well with keeping his sound, and it's very inspiring for me, and I love doing it. I love exploring my art, and it goes with a lot of different artistic outlets, like when you're drawing or painting, sculpting, trying new mediums and everything, or like designing, and you can figure out so many different outlets to express yourself, and it's the same way with music, and I'm still discovering my sound through all these different genres, and I'll play shows, and I'll love the energy that a punk song can give, or like the feeling of intimacy that can come from a soulful performance, you know. And it's just, I don't think I'll ever land on a genre. I'm comfortable being an R&B pop artist, but I think at the end of the day, there will never be a box that I'm permanently put in, and I'm very content with that.
I feel that. So we're going to get into your music a little bit. We're going to be playing a clip of your song Cantando al Sol.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're going to listen to that, and I really would love you to share your process, what the song means to you, things like that.
Sure.
I
I tell the stars how much I love you, 'cause they're the only ones that listen. And I got a lot to say about you, girl, and that won't change. You make me feel safe. Your hands on my face. You're all I think about on rainy days. Sun hat in my face. When I kiss you, all I taste is that sweet rosé and your solar rays. Cantando al sol, I'm singing to the sun. It was very fun to write. Very proud of that song. It started with, excuse me, my friend Carson saying that he has a little instrumental track that he wanted me to listen to or help write to. I didn't know what to expect, but I found, he sent it in an email and I opened it and I just I fell in love with the drums and I was like, what is this little number? And I knew that I had to be a part of it. And there's this, obviously, this, I don't want to say it's a cop-out, but writing a love song about a girl, or writing a song dedicated to some girl that may not even exist, is a very common way to write. And I think the feeling of this song, it called for that, but in a different way. And when I listened to it, I was outside, it was a beautiful summer day, I was getting my sun therapy in, my vitamin D, and I thought to myself, what if I made this a love song but for the sun? And how can I express my appreciation to the warmth that the sun gives to me every day, and how it's similar to this this romantic feeling of something looking out for you, or always being there, and giving you that warmth that's not as physical as a person, but something that's more even spiritual or emotional. And I told Carson, and he was like, that is the coolest idea. And I was very happy that he liked the idea. And the song, Cantando al Sol, it means singing to the sun. So yeah, I was very passionate about that idea, because especially at the time, the sun was very important to me, because it's something that made my day a whole lot better if it was bad, because you could have the exact same day, and if one day's cloudy, it's objectively a lot worse than if it's sunny, you know. So I thought I'd express my appreciation in that way through this beautifully composed piece that Carson put together, and I did my best to execute it to my full ability, and I'm very proud of what I came up with.
I love your music. So many people love your music. I think we saw you have 4,000 monthly listens on Spotify.
Yes.
And you've been doing this for only 2 years, which is crazy. What would you say are your proudest moments, your favorite moments on your journey so far?
Very good question. I have a lot of little proud moments, like when I'm at a party or something and somebody comes up to me and doesn't know my real name. They call me Kid Renaissance. I'm like, oh, I saw you at the show. My friends love you. We knew all the words and everything. And that's just so heartwarming that my music is touching people like this. And it's just a reminder of that I'm very proud of. But something that happened, I think about last week, I had noticed that I got a few follows on my Instagram, and I noticed that these new followers DM'd me, and there was one paragraph, this long paragraph, and it was from a student of my mother's. My mother's a teacher, and she's a student talking about how my mother talks about my music and how she is a great teacher and how my mother has impacted these kids in such a meaningful way, even though they're quite a handful. But it was reading this and hearing from someone else that my mother is happy with the direction I'm taking, and she's proud enough to tell everyone she can about my achievements and everything. It's just very reassuring and heartwarming that I have such a supportive family, because I know I'm the youngest of 5, and I'm the first kid to pursue a career in art, and that can be very daunting to parents, I've noticed, but they warmed up to it, and they're the most supportive people. And my mother is doing a very good job of normalizing my music, so she doesn't try to smother me with all these questions about it. She's very normal, and she treats it so casually, like it's just a part of life, and she's just so proud, and I see that in the way that she treats it. Like it's just this thing that makes sense, just as if I was getting like an engineering degree or something. And it's just very reassuring to know my mother and my parents are content and proud of me. So something that's a proud moment for myself is knowing that I've done justice for my parents in my journey, and I guess, lived up to the expectations they've held and the expectations I've held for myself, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm very proud to say that I have very supportive parents, and that the journey is something that keeps them proud of me. So that's something I'm very proud of. Yeah.
That's great. It's kind of sad how rare stories like that are, about having family members supportive of somebody pursuing the arts. I think it's beautiful that you have that.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for it, because I know a lot of colleagues or collaborators don't have that privilege of having a very supportive families, because some people just don't understand it. So very, very, very grateful and thankful for the opportunities my parents gave me, because it's not every day that happens.
Yeah. And so you're from Worcester.
I am.
And you also share that Lowell was kind of an additional incubator for you.
Correct.
How did those places influence you as an artist, your sound, anything?
Well, that's a good question. In Worcester, I never really felt like there was much artistic influence for me personally. It was kind of like I was placed there, I went to school there, I made friends there, I had a life there, and I was content with it. The older I got, the more I loved Worcester, every part of it, and the more I noticed things, like the murals that started to go up, the musicians, and the rappers coming up, whether they were good or bad, the passion was there, and it's a beautiful thing to see that stuff like these artistic people and these artistic projects starting to flourish in my hometown. Not a lot of people know the rapper Joyner Lucas is born and raised in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is so cool.
Yeah.
I love Joyner, and it's something that I've definitely grown to appreciate. There weren't many, I guess, creative havens in Worcester, but it was definitely something that opened my eyes to appreciate my hometown and the people I was surrounded with and the people that support me, like my friends and family from Worcester. And coming to Lowell really gave me this perfect second home, especially for my creative space. And going back to Worcester, it's kind of just a nice reminder of where I started and where my passion kind of started to bud. And just bringing me back to my roots. Whenever I go to Worcester, I just notice so many more things, and like there's new murals, and there'll be like graffiti and stuff, and there's just like people enjoying the creativity and the art that Worcester can bring, and it's a good feeling of like looking back at where I was raised and saying, look at how it's kind of evolved from when I was a kid, and being able to say, look at how I've evolved, and being able to notice these things and appreciate the smaller details in the creative spaces, because there's a contrast of like trying to find it in Worcester and learning to appreciate it, and then coming to Lowell, it's like hard to not see it, especially because I came here to be creative. I'm a music major. I work with the genius fashion icons of Lowell and everything, and it's just so beautiful that I can have these two homes that are so creative in their own ways and really nurturing in their own ways, because I think Worcester has a lot of potential creatively, and obviously Lowell does.
Yeah.
Like, look where we are, and look at all these people that are so creative and beautifully minded. But yeah, Worcester's definitely something to look out for. Excuse me, in the art space. But yeah, it's good to have a home that you can look back on, and a home that's currently treating you well as a creative.
Yeah. What would you say your identity as an artist of color, like what does that mean to you?
Being an artist of color is something that being a person of color in general was kind of something that I had to learn to appreciate, which I know a lot of people experience. Being mixed, I'm Armenian and Black American, and I'm very proud of my heritage. I'm very proud of my cultures and everything, and all my family, and learning about my culture, and all of the little mixes in here in my ethnicity is a beautiful thing. And it took a while for me to really appreciate that and treat it as less of an identity crisis and more of an appreciation of how I'm different. And that's something important in my music, because there's all this Black culture that goes into like obviously like hip hop and R&B, and how it's touching more cultures. Like there's a lot of Asian Americans making incredible R&B music, while still showing appreciation for the people that started it, and the Black culture that kind of made these sounds flourish. And just knowing that I'm able to be a part of that and carry on the beautiful art that Black Americans have been making the entire time music has existed.
Yep.
You know, it's something that I'm very proud to say that I'm being a part of, and I'm proud of the work that I'm putting into it, and I'm doing justice to the sound that was created from so long ago and it's still being made. But it's important. People don't realize how much thought goes into making music when being a person of color, or being of any minority, because there's always this worry of how will people perceive me, you know, and what do people think about? Because for a lot of people, it's not just about the music. There's no privilege of just being like, oh, I hope people like my music. There's also, I hope people can like me, you know, as an artist, and I hope I can represent people, and I hope I can have some little kid that looks like me and loves my music. I hope I can inspire someone like that, and like this young creative minds, wherever they may be. I hope that I can give a face to their passion and a sound to their passion, and it's very important to me. I don't talk about it much because it's something that I like to try to normalize, you know, and to have it just be something that's expected. But at the end of the day, it's very important for a lot of people, and it's very important to make note of, and really try to pay attention to the colors sonically and racially in the music space, because there's a lot of things that you may not notice, and how the culture is influenced in the music. It's just a beautiful thing overall, and a lot of people can see it as I guess a struggle, and which it obviously can be, but there's obviously beauty in it the whole way through, and it's something I've learned to love, and I'm definitely proud of the appreciation that I've gained for myself and my identity as an artist and everything, and what I'm doing to kind of give a voice to that identity. So.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So what is next for the kid? Like, you can shamelessly plug. What do you have going on?
Well, I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm working on fashion to look out for. I've been putting a lot of work in there. I've been doing smaller shows around Lowell, on the UMass Lowell campus. So for any UMass Lowell students, follow me on Instagram. I always post what shows I'm doing. There's always exclusive merch for each show. You can only get it at the show. I design and print it myself. So if you end up at the show, look out for the merch. I'm always really proud of it. I always think it's pretty cool. So that's something to look out for. Yeah, I have a few projects in the works. Music with Carson, and then music with a few artists that I have yet to collaborate with that I'm very excited about. And little collaborative project that I'm anticipating and being on some upcoming projects that I'm very honored to be a part of. But yeah, a lot in the works that you can surely see about if you follow me on Instagram, because I post a lot on my stories, so you can do that. On my Twitter, yeah, there's any social media, I'll talk about it. You'll be sure to see anything. But yeah, just keep an eye out. Got a lot of great things in the works.
Wonderful. We love secrets. We love secrets. We love suspense. Yes. So for folks watching, we'll be having all the social media links and the accounts in the description, so feel free to follow Kid Renaissance. And now we're going to open it up to our audience.
Great.
If anyone here has a question for Kid Renaissance, now's the time.
Awesome.
Yeah. Super quick, you might want to plug your microphone in just a little bit, adjusting that.
Sure, gotcha. Okay.
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 And then I was wondering, so you're working with fashion and you're doing music. Are there any other mediums you're interested in exploring in the future?
Yeah, I actually, I've dipped my toe into acting. Briefly, I was an extra in a movie that you may know as Don't Look Up. It's coming out in December. Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Timothy Chalamet, Ariana Grande, Kid Cudi, a lot of big names, but I'm very thankful to be part of that. Even though it's just an extra role, it was still a beautiful thing, and it kind of sparked a passion for that I want to seek out a little bit more. But modeling and my graphic design and so I do all my own cover art and stuff like that. Photography kind of comes along with like the shows and being an independent artist. You kind of have to learn to juggle all these different mediums. But yeah, I'm doing a good amount. But to answer your question briefly, modeling, I want to do a lot more of acting. I want to do a lot more of visual arts. I want to do a lot more of. But yeah, so thank you for the question.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
So where would you like to be in 5 years with everything that you're doing creatively?
In 5 years, oh man, 25, I'll be old. Let me say, I'm gonna be content no matter where I end up, because I know I'm gonna love the journey, and I already love the journey. I'm still a small artist. I've been doing this for almost 2 years, but every step of the way I've enjoyed thoroughly. But for what I hope to have accomplished in 5 years and where I want to be in 5 years, I'd say I want to have made an impact on a lot of people. That's very broad, but I want to have made an impact that's known. I want people to be able to say, oh, Kid Renaissance, that's the guy that donated to his old school in Worcester, or somebody that has put together these fundraisers and these charities and that has made a big mark in a step towards making whatever better for people, whether it be something like homelessness or climate change, whatever it is. There's so much change that needs to be made that I'm passionate about trying to make, and in 5 years I hope I have a platform that's large enough and powerful enough to easily make a significant impact, because obviously being a small artist, it's not easy to use a smaller platform to reach a lot of people. So I hope in 5 years I'll have the platform to be able to reach as many people as possible and to be able to help as many people as possible with my numbers or whatever money I've made. I hope I can use that to give back to the people that have supported me and to the people that are trying to get where I am, or who are not as fortunate as I am, and I acknowledge my privilege, and I want the people who aren't as fortunate as me to have some opportunities, whether it be students who don't have an art program, from that to students who can't afford to even go to school. You know, I hope to have a large platform, and I hope to have a lot of fans that can help me reach these goals of helping others. It's very important to me to make an impact and to give back to the communities that have helped me. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. That was awesome.
So I have two questions.
Sure.
So you kind of answered the one I'm going to ask a little bit about how you measure your success with impact on others.
Right.
So what does success look like to you?
Success to me looks like looking back at some things that I thought could have been impossible and seeing that I've done them to my best ability. Setting goals for myself that I kind of questioned whether or not I'd be able to execute, and either being on the path to executing them or executing them in multiple different ways, and kind of making new ideas and exceeding my own expectations for myself, and being able to say that I've grown as a person, as an artist, as a creative. I think growth in general is just something that's really important to me when saying that I'm proud of myself. If I can look back, say, 5 years from now, and think, I never thought this would be possible, but here I am doing such big things, and having so many people be a part of it, and touching as many people as possible. Like, the more people I can impact, whether it just be somebody saying they appreciated my show, or getting a DM saying that I helped them through a breakup with one of my songs, that's success for me. Being able to touch the people that have supported me, and give back, because it's not one-sided. I try to give to the people that support me as much as the supporters give to me. You know, that's kind of what success has meant to me, and I think it will be what it means to me for a very long time. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And my second question is, what's your artistic process in music and just everything else?
Oh man, it can be kind of rough. It's not very consistent. As creatives, I'm sure you all know that artist block and creative block is a very real thing, and I go through that pretty often. But I try to embrace whatever creative spaces are given to me. Like, if one of my friends that also makes music is over, ask them for ideas or anything, something that can spark a project, whether it be fashion or music or anything. It's really about just kind of letting, I guess, the art find me, in a sense, and kind of waiting for it to strike, because sometimes when you force creativity, it can't go anywhere, and it's like you're almost making it worse. But a lot of the process is not just myself, but my collaborators and the people that I work with. I couldn't do any of it without them, and I do rely on them to teach me how to explore new sounds and make art in different and better ways. And I kind of look to other people and other artists for help, like Carson, and Hibernated is another one of my producers, or writers, like some of my friends from Toronto, Eric Ryan, Brian Max, some of my friends in Texas, Skydad, Boston, Pillbook, all these people that I work with. There's so many like genius creatives that I look for. It's the process is never just me. The creative process is never just me alone. It's impossible for me, and I don't think it'll ever be possible for me to just make a project or a piece of art that somebody else hasn't touched or impacted. So to kind of summarize, I'd say I reach out to the other artists I know, and I kind of do my best to not be afraid to look for help and listen to what other people have to say and suggestions other people make, and embrace how other creatives can help me through the process. And it's kind of just an extension of myself at that point, since we're all like family, and I know that they can all help me and I can help them in the same ways. It's never just myself. The process is never solo, you know. So yeah. Yes.
Hi, Ian.
Hi,
Diana. I'm overwhelmed
Mhm.
with our friendship, and,
Right.
and since I've known you, I was immediately impressed, and I remember sharing your music with everybody, and
Thank you.
I was blown away, and was listening to it, looping and over and over and over again. And further, what impressed me was to find out that you had only just stumbled upon this particular talent recently. So in being kind of a newbie at things,
Yeah.
in that respect, there's this part of me that feels like there's this old soul in you. And I'm really appreciative of you digging into what was already there.
Right.
And I'm wondering if sometimes other folks may have that assumption that you were born making music, because that's
For sure.
the way you sound.
Yeah.
And how does that impact you in terms of, like, are there expectations that you feel need to be met because people think you've been at this for much longer, for your whole life, in fact? Because that's what you sound like. You've
Mhm.
dug into things that were that I was listening to, in particular, R&B back from the 70s, and I can feel that, and that's why it really touched me, and I feel like your music's timeless. But has that at all gotten in the way of, like, people assuming that you've been doing this for much longer?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. But yes, it has. It never gets too, I guess, stressful, because I always, it's very reassuring to myself seeing all these artists that I work with doing so much and making leaps and bounds with their music and their art, and then I'm like, oh, I'm behind, or I have to like catch up, and then I look at it and I'm like, oh, they've been doing it for 10 years and I'm just starting. Like, I've been doing it for almost 2 years. I'm still learning, and I will always be learning, but especially now, I'm still trying to figure out my sound and everything. And I guess there are a lot of people that expect certain things from me, and I can appreciate that, because it's just something that pushes me to reach that goal. And if somebody's like, oh, say he's not putting out enough music or whatever, or he hasn't dropped an album yet, and there's that expectation of me to do so, because say they assume I've been doing it for long enough, or I'm a professional, which I would not say I am. I'm getting there, but I think it's something that can make it even more impressive to at least myself, when I look at it and say, I've done this much in this amount of time, and I'm still learning. And it's something that I like to keep close to my own heart, and I don't take it to heart when somebody has expectations for me, because it pushes me, and it's kind of adds to the expectations I set for myself, and it's a drive. It adds to the drive that is never ending, and it just kind of is that extra push that's almost needed. And I never really see it as much of a negative thing. It can get kind of daunting when there's a lot of expectations, but at the end of the day, you just take a deep breath and say, all right, let me try to reach that goal. Let me try to impress these people without them even knowing that I haven't been doing this for very long.
Yeah,
You know?
I appreciate that, and I
Yeah.
don't think you have to try. You have the magic,
Thank you.
honestly, and I'm very impressed.
Thank you, Diana. I appreciate that.
Diana for president. Anyone else have any questions? Yes.
Just one more. Yeah. So earlier you were talking about bringing light to social issues and making an impact.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's anything that you feel presently that people should be talking more about.
That's a good question. Where do I start? There's a lot. Something significant to me and that I think about a lot is, it's a bit obscure, but pancreatitis. A very close friend of mine who has helped me through every step of this journey has pancreatitis, and there's not much, well, I don't know too much about it, but there's definitely more that can be learned about it, and there's definitely advancements and leaps that need to be had, and I think I could hopefully one day help along through donations to research or any form of impact, or even just bringing awareness to it, because it's an issue that I had never even heard of pancreatitis, never knew, or let alone knew anything about until I met this friend of mine, and it's something that a lot of people have to deal with through their life, and there's not much they can do about it, and that's scary. And it's scary to me, and I can only imagine how somebody who has to endure that must feel, and how strong they have to be. And for me to not have it, and to be able to say that I don't have to worry about the same things, I feel like I should kind of do whatever I can to give at least a voice to the issue and these strong people that go through it, because a lot of people don't have to deal with it, so they don't even see it. It goes right over their heads, which is a lot of issues that people don't experience, like homelessness, poverty in general, things like climate change and environmental issues. People tend to ignore because they don't have to see it, they don't deal with it, and it's kind of expected, because out of sight, out of mind, and people have their own issues, but at a certain point you at least need to listen, and you at least need to acknowledge and say, I see you, and just mull over if you can find any way to help or do some research, because people don't like to do research. Even just the quickest Google search, if you know anyone that might know something about it, just ask. It's something that's kind of scary to see how many people embrace ignorance being bliss, and everyone's guilty of it. I'm guilty of it, but I think it's an issue that I'm still learning about, and I think there are a lot of issues that people may not acknowledge just because they don't have to go through it. So I think even just asking a friend about something that they might have to deal with because you notice how strong they are, is something that can go a long way. And it's something that can really open your eyes in a way and help you appreciate the privilege that you may have to not have to experience this. And hopefully you can push people in the direction of trying to help in any way they can. So yeah, there are a lot of issues, obviously, that need to be dealt with in any way possible, but yeah, I'd say something that's been at the top of my mind for a while now is pancreatitis, and I hope to be able to impact that in a very positive way throughout my journey. So thank you for the question. It's a good question.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, kid.
Yeah, thank you.
For your story, for your spirit, for sharing everything with us today. Just thank you.
Yeah,
thank
you
so
so
much.
much. This was such a great experience. It's very fun.
Yes.
I've never done anything like this, but I do like talking about myself, so it's cool to do that in front of a camera, I guess. But yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. And for folks out there, if you're enjoying the Vital Voices series, Kid is our second episode. We have another one next month. We'll be speaking with Fran Collazo, who is a stylist, photographer. I'm missing a comma. A stylist, a photographer, and a model. Very excited about that. And thank everyone for their support. We're going to thank Enterprise Bank again for being the presenting sponsor of this series. And thank you all for joining us today. If you want to learn more about Free Soil or support our work, head to freesoilarts.org. I'm your host, Christa Brown, and thank you so much.